Hey, She Seeks, it's Juliana checking in with you today about this week's encouragement from Nikki, and she talked about gossip. And I know this is something that we all struggle with for a fact because I feel like it should be titled like the curse of woman because I feel like as women, it's something that we struggle with in particular. I know guys can take part in it too. But for us, it's a huge, I think, a huge daily struggle that we all go through. And I love how Nikki gave the three practical things that we can do to kind of catch ourselves and to prevent ourselves from gossiping. And they were prevent, ignore, and confront. And I think it's on a case by case basis how you choose to use those three things. Obviously, prevention is ideal. We not even entering into those conversations, I think, is the best. But then there's times where maybe they're unavoidable and those conversations just happen around us. And so we can either choose to ignore or confront. I know I had a mentor back when I was in high school, and I had asked her, how do I stop gossiping? Because it's something that you naturally go into. So how do I stop myself or stop it happening around me? And she said that what she used to do, and this was like super bold and daring, and I've only actually done it a couple of times because I'm too chicken, but it's awesome advice. When she's in a circle and people start gossiping, she'll politely say, "Hey, I think you should tell that person or apologize to that person for gossiping about them." And I was like, "You just tell them that to their face?" She's like, "Yeah." And then I say, "You have 24 hours to talk to that person, or I will." And I don't know if that's like that. I would say that's not a hard and fast rule for how you should always handle gossiping. But I think for me, it put me in check, and it made me realize like this is something that I need to be conscious, like be thinking about what I'm saying. And there's a verse. Nikki gave a ton of verses in her entry that were awesome. And then I found another one from Proverbs 18, chapter 18, verse 8, and it says, "The words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to a man's inmost parts." And I felt like this verse hit me because when gossip happens, I mean, we know because we've been gossiped about, right? And there's people in our lives that have maybe said something, maybe taken something out of context or spread a rumor about us, and we take those things to heart, and it sits with us, and we mull over it, and we chew over it, and we freak out, for lack of a better word, about, what everybody's thinking or what everybody's talking about, or that so-and-so said this about me. And so I think for us, sitting on the other side of that, and how can we start to think that our words maybe are those choice morsels that are sitting in somebody's inmost parts. And I think a lot of gossip happens, it just happens, sometimes accidentally, sometimes on purpose, but it's definitely something that we need to catch ourselves. And so one thing that I've found myself praying about a lot more, especially since Monday, is God, give me a new perspective and let me open my eyes to see when gossip is happening in front of me, and open my mind to realize when I'm the one gossiping. I think a lot of times it just happens, and then we go back and think, wow, was I just gossiping about somebody? But for actually praying for God to bring us that realization while it's happening so that we can stop it. Because like I said, we've all been on both sides of that conversation. So that's our encouragement for you guys, and it's just as much for us as it is our hearts sharing with you, that we're struggling with it too, and so we want to keep each other accountable. And thanks so much for reading.